One of the group asked, military science is the art of deceiving people by means of strategy. If I am mature in the study of this way, will it not reinforce my superficial knowledge and damage my technique of the mind? The demon answered, when the gentleman uses this, it is an instrument for the pacification of the state. When the man of little character uses it, it will become an instrument for damaging himself and hurting others. All things are like this. When you set your mind entirely on a way, if it is not mixed in with self-interest, you could study the technique of being a burglar, but you would use it for the benefit of warding off burglars. This would cause no damage to your intentions. But if your intentions were devoted to passions, desires, greed, profit, and loss, you could study the books of the sages and only encourage your own superficial knowledge. Thus, establish your intentions with the correct way of former times. Do not alter it, and afterwards study the 10,000 things. If you study military techniques without making the correct way your mainstay, you will rejoice in clever words, move your mind in their direction, specialize in the skill of superficial knowledge, and make the mistake of considering these to be the way of the gentleman. This is true for the person who studies swordsmanship as well. If a practitioner becomes mature in this art but uses it to try out new swords on passers-by or to commit highway robbery and thinks that this is the way of a man, the martial arts will, contrary to what he thinks, beckon him toward disaster. This is not the fault of the martial arts. It is a flaw in one's intentions. Kumasaka and Benkei were both accomplished swordsmen, and both were very strong men endowed with courage and ingenuity. Benkei used these qualities to fight loyally for his master. Kumasaka used them to become a highwayman. Thus, strategy is not in the way of the gentleman's samurai. Although using it to fight loyally is considered to be that way. That Benkei, I think that's how you pronounce it, struck Yoshitsune with a staff at the Ataka barrier in Kaga province was not in itself loyalty. It is considered loyalty because he did it in order to deliver his master from a calamity. One discusses this matter according to its results. It is ignorance to discuss it in terms of the action alone. Listen, military strategy is a matter of raising a great number of men, establishing your positions, and making sure that your troops are not destroyed by the enemy. It is a technique of using your own troops and crushing the enemy by using some plan. To use perversity and make propriety the enemy is lawlessness. And would you not damage your own loyal troops with that lawlessness by making no preparations, not using any strategy, fighting improperly and falling into the enemy's schemes? When you do have a strategy, you make your preparations ahead of time and do not fall into the enemy's traps. But when you don't understand that technique, you will become the enemy's captive. How could you not understand this? Although you could say that there are many techniques to strategies, they are basically used in response to human affections. If the strategy is not in response to human affections, you will not be able to use it, even if you understand its technique. This would be like a doctor reading many books and knowing about the use of many medicines, but not understanding the cause of an illness and applying the medicines arbitrarily. This would likely bring on yet another disease. The knowledge of a general is an understanding of human affections. If a general does not have sincerity, righteousness, and human-heartedness, it will be impossible for him to be in harmony with human affections. It has been clearly understood both in ancient and modern times that when a man does not acknowledge human affections, his strategies will turn into disasters. When the enemy runs amok and you abide by the way, acknowledging human affections will be like having the strength of metal. What would you have to fear of the enemy's strategies? But if the enemy abides by the way and your troops do not acknowledge human affections, your own strategies will be useless. So I think about that one. Thus, the general considers it essential to have a grasp of human affections. The educated samurai of today study nothing but the traces of the strategies of famous generals, and this is just the dregs of the ancients. Studying the dregs and coming up with a nutritious soup, this is the measure of a general. For the rank and file, the measure of an educated samurai is to learn a task and then, when the time comes, to perform an action according to that task. Each of the various officers has his own task, and each company has its own methods. Each use of the spear in attack, pause, and retreat has its own function. All of these must be absolutely understood. There have been many great disasters due to an army's smallest mistake in such things as attacking a castle, defending a castle, espionage, night attacks, or entering a territory under the cover of night. When troops face a situation and none know their own part, the consequences can be more deadly than when trying to cross a vast river without knowing how to swim. How are we doing for time? Okay.